Anything is possible. It started with a dream. Our passion made a difference and built a family. We've grown strong together.
Hello, you're with Libby Dyson from libbystamps.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Australia. And today I have another one of those how do I do that technique videos. And we're going to do some watercolour blocking. Now, for this technique, you will need some Fluid 100 watercolour paper by Stampin' Up. And I've also used Tasteful Touches bundle, which is in the 2020-2021 annual catalogue. And Versamark White Stampin' Emboss powder, Misty Moonlight, Bumblebee, and just Jade, which are new in colours for 2020 to 2022. So that's what I've used on this card, and I've used the Bumblebee ribbon and stamped the inside of the card in the envelope. Alright, now for this I used my Stamparatus, which I find really helpful because you can just turn your card around, you can ink up twice, and it's always in the right position. Okay, so to start with, this is quite a messy technique, so you need some paper towel. And I'm going to use the Stampin' Up F blocks today. I've got 2 of these, and we're going to use those in our technique. Now I've got already cut my Fluid 100 watercolour paper, and I just pop that under. Now I've cut it bigger than I want it. On this card I cut it down to 9 by 13.4 I think it was, but I'll put all the measurements on my blog. So I just put my block over the top of my watercolour paper, which ensures that I get colour where I need it. Alright, so today we're going to use Granny Apple Green, Pool Party, and Magenta Madness, which is a 2020 to 2022 in colour. Alright, so quite quick and easy to do, but you do need to let it rest for a while. So I'm just going to add some Magenta Madness. So just open up your ink pad and press it down on your block where you think you want it. And then I'm going to come in with some Pool Party and do the same and butt it up to that colour as best you can. Press down so you get a good coverage. Now I am going to wipe some of that off so I can come in with some Granny Apple Green. So I'm just going to wipe off a line to there and then come in with Granny Apple Green and just press the ink down, trying to meet up with the previous colour. Alright, so we've got a good coverage of colour. Remove your watercolour paper for the time being. You'll see why. And you're going to use a Stampin' Spritzer, which has water in it, and just spritz up the ink on the block quite liberally till the colour sort of beads up and you're happy with the coverage of water. Now sometimes when you do this technique the colour doesn't bleed in as well as you would like, but I've found that if you leave it for about 5 minutes with a weight on it, that helps the technique. So then we're going to flip our block over and get it on top of our watercolour paper. Press it down, give it a good press, and then you need to leave it just for about 5 minutes with a weight on it. So I'll be back in a minute. Alright, here's our watercolour blocking technique finished and dried. So you can see it's sort of a bit blotchy in areas, and you can see where the colour's been picked up on the watercolour paper really well. Now all we need to do is finish this off and make a card. And I'm going to cut it down to 9 centimetres, maybe on this side. Cut it down to 9 by 13.4. Then I'll just check that's going to fit on my card front. So I've already done the card, and it's in Magenta Madness and Pool Party, and I've stamped the envelope in the inside of the card with Magenta Madness and the Tasteful Touches stamp set. So now all we need to do is come in and with our Stamparatus and stamp the front of our card. Now I'll have that as the up, so I'll pop my magnet on there, and then I want this stamp to come in about there. So close the plate on my Stamparatus, give it a bit of a rub. Now when you use your Stamparatus, make sure you've got something underneath the plate so that you can get a good even coverage of the image, and just twist your ink pad a little bit and stamp down. Now the reason I use my Stamparatus is because sometimes on watercolour paper you don't get a crisp image to start with because of the texture of the paper. It only has a little bit of texture, the Fluid 100 by Stampin Up, but I like to get it right. Okay, so that's one stamp. Then the next one, might do this card a little differently, and I'll just pop the magnet here. Don't really need it, but, and I'm going to flip my stamp over and pop it down here. Now it's still got a little bit of Versamark on it, but that won't matter because I'm going to ink it up right where I've left it. So again, come in with your Versamark, having something underneath your hinged plate. Give your Versamark ink pad a little bit of a twist. Pop down with your plate, and then once more for good measure. And using this Stamparatus makes sure that you get your image in the exact same spot every time. And then to clean off your image, just come in with your Stamparatus cleaning cloth. Now I've got a dirty side and a clean side, so I clean it off on the dirty side first to make sure I get all that ink off, and then I just flip it over and clean on the clean side to make sure it's all nice and clean. And I store that in a clear mount case and keep it damp, and works wonders on all your stamps. Then you can remove that stamp and remove your watercolour paper. Now I'm going to come in with some white Stampin' Emboss powder, and I'm just going to emboss those images. Come in and just pop Stampin' Emboss powder all over where you stamp those images. Shake off any excess. Might end up turning this around. Alright, shake off any excess into your container so you're not wasting any of your Stampin' Emboss powder, and then just heat set it with your heat tool. So I'll be back when I've done that. Alright, so here's our card front, dried, heat set with the heat tool, and all we need to do is add it to the front of our card. And I've got the sentiment and some ribbon. So I'm just going to put some of this Magenta Madness ribbon across the centre of the card. So line it up on your grid paper, work out where you want it, and then flip it over and just add some tear and tape to the back. I find this is good to adhere the ribbon, make sure it stays in place. I think that was about right there. And then just line it up again on your grid paper and do the other side. Pull it sort of taut. Use liquid glue to add that to your card front. Alright, and I've already got, using my take your pick tool, take the backing off the dimensionals add that to your card front. Then I have got a bow already tied, multi-looped bow, which I'm just going to add, and I'll add a couple of extra glue dots to make sure that stays down. The watercolour paper is still a little damp, so just use your take your pick tool, add them under the loops, and then just to finish off I'm going to use some frosted and clear epoxy droplets. Might use these ones this time. So use your take your pick tool to pick them up off the sheet. And there's our watercolour blocking card complete. There's the one that I did previously, and for this technique I've used Tasteful Touches bundle. So this is the bundle. So you get all those dies inside, which are great for labels and these sentiments. And we've used the Fluid 100 watercolour paper, plus Magenta Madness, Pool Party and Granny Apple Green. So all these products are available in my online store, and I'd love you to shop with me. Don't forget about using your Stamparatus to help you position your stamps, and thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you again next time with another How Do I Do That technique. Thanks so much. Bye for now.